office, on the telephones, putting up lawn signs and everything. I want to let everybody know that we can always use more help. There's never enough help on a campaign, so if you want to help, find Ben Donovan here today or somebody and let them know, and we can certainly use all of your help. I want to be very clear. Our team came out of the gate 100 miles an hour. We were ready for this election. Between October and December, I had to make a very tough decision on whether or not I was going to do this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do it a year and a half ago. But I was a cabinet minister in a minority government. It didn't make any sense at that point. This has been the most exciting campaign I've ever been on. And as a team, what many people probably aren't aware of is we were actually working on this in January. From January to today, we actually planned for August 16th for the RIP to drop. We were lucky. We picked 3 dates, the 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd. We zeroed in on the 16th. Our sign team had 90% of the entire riding covered with the large signs by the end of the first week. We had half it done the first night. On the street, there's lots of innuendo. I want to make a few things clear. The payroll center and the gun registry, I mean, I'm getting it on the doorstep. I don't realize how the other side doesn't realize what they're doing. Those two buildings are not going anywhere. And the people that work in them are still going to be living here and working there. It's annoying for me to have to clear that up because I'm not sure why the federal government would close 2 multi-million-dollar buildings and pick them up and carry them out of here. I mean, you'd have to be pretty strong to do that, I think. So I've been having fun with that one. Something else to clear up is the Centennial Bridge. On the street, you're hearing there's not going to be a sidewalk. Coming from the provincial government, I will tell you what that looks like. The city of Miramichi were asked to submit a pedestrian plan, and there are 3 options: 2 sidewalks, 1 big one, or none. The city here and its taxpayers will be responsible for submitting that plan, and I believe it was submitted last week or the one before. My gut feeling is there's absolutely going to be a sidewalk. It just could be that there's 1 bigger one as opposed to 2 smaller ones. I wanted to clear that up so that people were aware. We've got 2 more weeks of this campaign. Aaron O'Toole has taken off. He's been making a lot of sense, and a lot of people that didn't know anything about Aaron O'Toole are now talking about him. I think they started to see him as a human being with his wife and kids and his dog, and some pictures from him as an armed forces veteran. I want you to know that this is the most fun campaign I've ever been on, and it's the 6th campaign I've been on, 9th campaign if you count the 3 conventions, provincial, federal, and provincial leadership. I've never been on a campaign when somebody comes to their door, I felt that there was a 100% chance that the voter was accessible, that I might be able to get their vote. I've been in elections where they said, Jake, I don't like your premier, I'm going to plug my nose and vote for you. Or, Jake, you're a great guy, you're such a good person, but I don't like your boss, or I don't like him, or I don't like her, you know. But this election is, you know, basically they're either voting conservative or they're looking for the reason to vote conservative, not vote against. That is unique. So for the next 2 weeks, our team is going to rise above the innuendo, rumors. I'm going to focus on the voter. We're going to focus on getting the vote out. And I can tell you right now, we are turning Miramichi blue, and everybody knows it.
Hey! Way to go.
And we're not going to stop till it's over. Every vote counts. Tell your neighbor. Tell your cousin. Tell the guy down the street that's complaining. Tell him to call the office. We'll talk to him. There's a lot of good things happening on this campaign. Look at the Northern Bypass as an example. I mean, yeah, it's been kicked around for 30 years. It's almost laughable when you think about it. And Miramichi region as a whole, and I'll be very frank with this is a true statement. People fought harder to kill the other bypass than they ever fought for the one we're talking about. The Northern Bypass, I went door to door in Newcastle and Douglastown. I hit about 700 doors over there, maybe more. I've never met anyone that didn't want it. So when Aaron O'Toole, the leader, was here in July, he asked me what the priorities were. So I talked about rural New Brunswick, rural broadband, internet, key infrastructure, rural infrastructure, money for funding for rural infrastructure, jobs, the economy, talked about all of it. I mentioned to him the Northern Bypass, but I never thought I'd see it in an official press release that he was committed to it. But you know something? He listened. He didn't have to write that in a press release. And on the street, there's people that say, oh, it's just a big campaign thing. I don't think so. We turned this riding blue. The leader of the Conservative Party of Canada has committed to being a partner on the Northern Bypass. So I can tell you very frankly, if that project is wanted by the public, then we're going to be there. And we are going to finish that project once and for all so we can stop talking about it. One thing I want to mention here today, and this is also important, we used to ship our goods out of here. I had my father-in-law was a longshoreman, Sonny Matheson. I used to talk to him about it. A couple of years ago, a company offered $13 million from the private sector to dredge our river. Trudeau's Liberals didn't want to do it because there were 2 or 3 large corporations that didn't want it to happen. So they started by telling all the lobster fishermen that it would destroy their industry. Let's talk about that. We dredged our river from the 1870s to 1994. Have you guys eaten any lobster this summer?
Not from here.
So for 130 years, we did it. What changed? Nothing changed. It wasn't even down into the silt, it was just the high peaks to allow the ships to get in and the small cruise ships. The federal government had one responsibility on that project, to get $1.5 million. That's it. To fix the buoys. And they didn't do it. That's not leadership. We have 20 companies here that could have been more profitable and more economical instead of trucking their goods to Baldoon and paying the high fees down there. That made 20 or more of our companies less economical. That is not a plan for a Miramichi economy. I'm going to go a little bit further. The pellet project. I've been involved in it for years. I'm sad to tell you, it's not doing very well, and there's a reason. The province of New Brunswick offered an $11 million loan and a small grant. The federal government did not approve the funding for that project. The federal Trudeau Liberals, but they did take the time to give $15 million to a Quebec operation of the exact same.
Makes sense.
The ask there was $5 million. So for $6.5 million, we could have had a pellet plant at the former repap site employing 80 people per year. They would have been shipping their pellets out of our freshwater port that would have only cost $1.5 million. So for $6.5 million, we could have had a difference made in our economy for such a small amount. But they did take the time to give $20 million to Omar Cotter for basically being a war criminal.
Yeah, that's right.
And they did take the time to give Quebec.
Right on.
You can't make this stuff up. They did take the time to give Quebec $15 million so that Quebec could have a nice pellet plant.
That's right.
We need a government that's going to put Miramichi first, put our region first, and put our people first. I'm going to be honest with you. I've gotten in trouble before with my party, and there's been much said about it, and there's been much misunderstood about it. Every one of my colleagues are coming here Wednesday night. The Premier, every cabinet minister, and all my MLA colleagues are going to be in Blackville.
And we want more than Trudeau got in.
I left there on very good terms. Very good terms, and I have a lot of friends in the provincial government. If they didn't like me, they wouldn't show up, right? They're all coming to support me. 3 of them have been door to door with me already. Sometimes you have to walk a fine line, and here's why. Every government wants their members of parliament or their provincial MLAs to rubber stamp government policy. Every government wants their members to rubber stamp the policy of the day. Sometimes that policy is good for you, sometimes it's bad. Well, I'll tell you what, I rubber stamped nothing in Southwest Miramichi Bay de Vin if it wasn't good for my people. I never did it.
There you go.
So if you're looking for the difference in who else you can vote for, that's what sets me apart as a politician over all these years. Miramichi has the pull of resources to Fredericton and Bathurst is always strong. The whole of the bureaucracy is always trying to take something out of here. And our representatives get caught trying to defend something from leaving rather than grow the place by bringing in something new. We need a new vision in Miramichi Grand Lake. We have the airport, the longest runway. We have some of the most key infrastructure in New Brunswick, and we need to think outside the box, and we need to use political clout at the national level with somebody that can articulate the things that we need in this region. I'm telling you today, that person is me. I'm Jake Stewart, and I need your support.
Right
We're
on.
putting this place blue. Thank you.